Here we go into game 72. Up against a Warlock. Gonna want to keep that Mulch and the Zephyrus. Mulligan, the Malfurion, and the Zilla both are just too slow to have in the opening hand. Okay, yeah, I was gonna mulligan the Mulch, but we want to keep that. It's good against discard Warlock. It's good against Doom Guards. It's also good against... It's okay against Q-Block. It's good enough to keep against Q-Block, I think. Well, the way Q-Block usually beats us is just by out-aggroing us, putting too much tempo on the board for us to deal with, and Mulch helps in that case a lot. Just going to play out this Teladris. We don't have any cards to combo with him, so if our opponent removes it, it's not too big of a deal. And having the 2-3 on board will be telling as to what type of deck they are, how they try and deal with it. They've just been tapping, so in the Mistress of Mixtures, yep, it looks like it's a Q-Block or discard Warlock. The Wrath draw is excellent. We can play that with the Teladris and just cycle to the cards that we want. I think we're also going to coin the second Wrath that cycles as well. Gluttonous Ooze. That's interesting. Now I'm thinking maybe it's a Reno deck. Or perhaps it's a Q-Block that's just teched in Gluttonous Ooze. Most likely Reno, though. Gonna Bees it. Bees removes it and develops a 1-1. And protects this Teladris. Opponent has played Zillianx, and now I'm thinking even more likely it is going to be Reno Lock, though some Q-Blocks do play Zilliax. I don't think you would play Zilliax and have a teched-in Ooze. Especially the Ooze that gains armor. That tells me they're teching against Pirates, most likely. And Zilliax is already pretty good against Pirates, so it's gotta be Reno. I'm just going to play the Oasis Surger, remove the Zilliax, and develop a 3-3. The other option was to Wrath the Zilliax and play Snip Snap, but the Snip Snap we're able to play on this next turn as 2 copies, and we can save the Wrath for something else. They play a Mountain Giant, and we want to remove that, I think, with the Mulch. And this allows us to play Crystal Merchant and draw a card. This game's going pretty well for us so far. We're keeping the board under control and cycling at the same time. Thorson, yeah, it's definitely got to be Reno. Definitely want to remove the Thorson. I was going to play 2 Snip Snaps, but I think we have to change up the plan a bit. I don't want to trade in the Merchant to kill the Thorson. I'd rather use Wrath, which leaves us with 5 mana. And then the question is what do we do with the 5 mana? Well, okay, so I go for Branching Paths. I like this. We're not going to probably need to cycle with Branching Paths this game, so it's either Armor or Attack. Armor doesn't do too much, and the attack gives us tempo, and it gives us great tempo here. So we just do that with the Wrath. We get a draw with the Merchant, clear the board, and put up more pressure. We also traded off our 3-1, which is good against Defile. Here they play a Void Lord, pretty good at stopping us. But I decided they're at 17. Let's just use our Zephyrus now and see if we can start pushing some sort of lethal. The Hex is great. Stops any resurrection effects off of the Void Lord. And we can even Baleful Banker this Zephyrus. We're gonna lose that infinite potential if we do that. Oh, the other option is just to pass the turn. We do have the Flute Zephyrus in our hand, so we don't lose Zephyrus for good if it dies. And drawing a card off the Crystal Merchant is nice. Though, we are vulnerable to Defile at this point. Sure enough, there's Defile. Lotheb is gonna be a bit of an issue for us. Zephyrus, okay. Could pick the Arcanet Reaper. Oh, see, I want to play the Flute Zephyrus before we lose the Flute to something else. I think this is good, and then that way we can Baleful Banker the Zephyrus. We really don't want to lose Zephyrus. Keep that chain going. And we can even Zola the Banker, so we still have the infinite potential with Elise. I like this play. And it even puts up a few stats on the board. Life tap. No Reno from our opponent, though. I think we might just have... Okay, they trade into the Zephyrus. We could just let this Doomsayer go off. Clears up their board, but I think we want to keep putting pressure on them. They're at 10. They're pretty low. So I decided to go with the Natalia Celine onto the Doomsayer. Gives her 7 health and allows us to keep developing into their board. We can Living Roots the 5-2 Lotheb to remove that. And then the only question that remains is whether we want to trade into the Kartut or not. And I think we don't want to. We want to see if we can draw like a Silence maybe. Or a Zephyrus. They trade into the Natalia Celine and then play Kel'Thuzad. Okay, that's pretty good. They make an extra Kartut and a Kel'Thuzad, but Zephyrus with Master Spell and the Hero Power should be lethal. I Hero Power first, so he really gets the point that we have lethal if we just get Master Spell. Sometimes he does not give Master Spell when it seems so obvious, but I think if you have lethal, he'll usually give it. But you have to have like lethal showing on the board. So, alright, just beat down our opponent. That's 2 games in a row where we're just kind of playing aggressively with this deck. And it does happen when you have a curve. And that's why, once again, I'd like to stress how important it is that even when you have control decks, having a curve is just so important when you're playing Hearthstone. Here we go into game 73. Up against another Warlock. Same deal, gonna mulligan as if it's discard Warlock. I want to keep the Blood Mage Thanos plus Lesser Jasper Spellstone. With it, we can remove a 4/3 Fellstalker, we can remove an Malchezaar's Imp. We can also just use the Spellstone to remove a Flame Imp or an Ebonlock that comes down early. The Living Roots is a great draw. We can just make 2/1/1s to help contest whatever our opponent decides to do. See the coin Fellstalker, so it looks like it is indeed discard Warlock. I've got a couple options this turn. We could trade in our 2/1/1s and the hero power. We could use the Spellstone to help trade it off, but I don't want to do that. What I decide to do is play Thalnos. And the thing is, if they don't remove it, we can just hero power and Spellstone on the next turn. If they want to remove it, that's a pretty bad trade for them, a 4/3 into a 1/1. That preserves a lot of HP. So definitely want to remove that Tiny Knight this turn before it gets too big. The only question is, what do we do with the rest of our mana? And I decide to trade in both our 1/1s and play the Grizzled Wizard. We don't get to use our opponent's hero power, but we do get a 3/2 on the board. And having that 3/2 I think is going to be a lot better than if we had just hero powered and kept up a 1/1. A 1/1 is not going to contest much against that deck. And so here we see it paying off having this 3/2. We can just trade into their 3/3 quite easily. So here I decide we don't have any play other than to Baleful Banker, and I think we're going to do it. We don't need the value. We just need to make sure we don't die, and I think having a 2/2 on board is worth it. And Baleful Bankering in a 3/2 that steals their hero power is decent. We can use it to draw later if we're getting low on resources, and a 2-mana 3/2 is okay against discard Warlock. The other option that turn was to trade in our 3/2 before playing the Banker and just not put anything into our deck. And that actually might have been a worthwhile play too, because maybe we just want to draw other cards in our deck and not the Grizzled Wizard. This turn is pretty simple, just going to play Elise. The other play was to play Lotheb, but might as well duplicate our hand now because we're just going to be playing out cards really fast to contest the board. So we'll get the value while we can. And that deck really doesn't play many spells. Lotheb is pretty much just a 5/5 in this matchup. Speaking of which, this looks like a good Lotheb turn to me. I want to save that Oasis Surger to use its rush when we might want to make more important trades. Branching Paths we're probably not going to use unless we really need the health or the attack buff. Another 3/8. Malfurion is really good against these 3/8s. We can just make the 2/1/2 poisonous spiders. The only way they have to deal with them quickly is if they use their big charge or rush minions, which, hey, if they're trading in 5/5s or 5/7s into our 1/2 poisonouses, we're happy. If they don't, then we can just trade them into those 3/8s that are causing such a problem for us. Another imp, so they are going to into a discarding Hand of Gul'dan, so they are restocking their hand. But I think it's fine. As long as we don't let the board fall out of control too much, they can draw through their whole deck for all we care. Interesting. They trade in a Matron into our 1/2 poisonous and send the rest face. Seems good. Now it's our turn. Definitely trading the spider into the 3/8 taunt. And then we have some options. I consider mulching and then playing Oasis Surger as 2/3/3s to trade into the Malchezaar's Imps. But I think I'd rather have them have the Malchezaar's Imps out. They're pretty close to fatigue, so them drawing cards might actually be good for us. I think we're just going to go with another Malfurion for 2 more of those 1/2 poisonous spiders. They're just so good at helping us fight for board against this deck that likes to play huge stats. Lotheb, I don't think there's much we can do with Lotheb. Yeah, I think the play is just going to be Malfurion. with the 2/1/2 poisonous spiders. They can trade into one of them with their 3/2, which isn't great, but we still get one poisonous spider. Okay, and they can also trade into the other one with both their Malcazar's Imps, and that's okay. That's an okay trade, I think, for us. There's Doomguard. Discarding a Soulfire, that lowers their burst quite a bit. Merchant. Oof, Merchant on Fist of Jaraxxus. We don't like seeing that. They're going to be able to dump lots of damage out of nowhere, possibly, in the coming turns. Definitely going to need to mulch that Doomguard right now. Don't want that sticking around. And then what do we do with the rest of the mana? Okay, Hero Power down the Fellstalker, and then we have 4 mana. I consider playing Druid of the Swarm, but I think we're just going to Branching Paths for armor here. Druid of the Swarm allows them to trade off their expired Merchant, get a bunch of Fists of Gul'dans into their hand, and then possibly discard them all. Another expired Merchant on Fist of Gul'dan. So they have a lot of burst under those 2 expired Merchants. Got a pretty big board. Zephyrus is very interesting. And I think we're going to play him. What I'm hoping for... I'm trying to think of what are the different ways to clear. There's Flame Strike, there's the Demon Hunter spell, Chaos Nova. And I think that's the card we want to go for. And that way we can squeeze in a Hero Power along with it. So I decided to Hero Power first, then play Zephyrus. We'll have 6 mana left. Hopefully he will give us the Holy Nova to clear away their board. Or if he gives us Shadow Flame, that'd be okay too. But no, he gives us none of those. Zephyrus, why? Why? The best board clear we have is the Dread Infernal. But I would have so much rather had Shadow Flame or Chaos Nova. Now they can push more damage with the minions they have on board. We do get a 6/6, and we get to keep a 3/1, so there's something to that. This actually isn't that bad the more I look at it. Yeah, they had the Soulfire our 6/6. Okay, this was actually pretty good. Maybe this was better than Chaos Nova or Shadow Flame. Opponent just unloading the Fist of Jaraxxus. But that's not what they need to be doing, because we can just armor up here with another Branching Paths. And we are going to clear off their board with the Oasis Surger. I think we're just going to armor up and bees the Zentimo, but our opponent concedes. There's just no way they can win from this spot. Alright, good game. Going into game 74. Up against a Mage, gonna mulligan as if it's as if it's Secret Mage. So we're gonna keep the Tar Creeper, and the question is, what else do we want to keep with it? I decided to keep Steladris and Rising Winds. Normally, I would not keep Rising Winds. The 3/2 is okay, but it's not great. But with the Steladris, it becomes a lot better. We see the quest. So it is Quest Mage. We're going to want to just cycle to Dirty Rat or Lotheb. Going to coin out the Steladris here. There's no way that Secret Mage can really deal with the 3 health this early on, and it allows us to Rising Winds on the next turn. They do have Licensed Adventure, which contests our Steladris quite well. And Coin, interesting. Okay, Coin Spellwing. So they're thinking we're maybe an aggressive deck, I'm guessing. That's why they would use their coin so early. We're just going to make the Eagle with the Rising Winds. Trade the Steladris into the Spellwing, because what they're wanting to do is trade their Adventurer into Steladris. This way we save 1 health on our Eagle. They decide to go for the Arcane Missiles, and the Arcane Missiles does terribly. It doesn't kill either of our minions. They are able to clear. Now we can just do Crystal Merchant, though, and draw on an uncontested board. Another License Adventure. Using their coin again. I think our opponent... yeah, so the Mana Cyclone just for 1 spell. They really think we're an aggressive deck. That's why they're playing so hard for tempo here. But little do they know, I guess, we're really just a Reno deck, so they needed to be saving those coins for bigger burst turns, getting more spells from their Cyclone. Just going to play the Tar Creeper here to protect the Merchant and draw a card at the same time. Here they have Apprentice, which normally is just so scary, but they have no cards in hand. Well, they have 2 cards in hand, but it's just not scary. I consider even just ignoring it on this next turn. But I think we decide in the end we do need to Wrath it, just in case they get some card draw or evocation. It's probably worth it to still remove the Apprentice. And the question is what to do with the remaining 3 mana. Well, we'll use our only 3 mana card we do want to play. The Ferocious Howl. It's a little sad we don't get a Wrath for next turn with Fendrel, but I think it is worth just removing the Apprentice. Here we are sitting at 38 health. Our opponent is down an Apprentice, down a Cyclone, 3 cards in hand. Not looking good for the Quest Mage. Quest is not really even close to being completed. Deck of Wonders. Okay. That is a way for them to just get randomly lucky. But they're going to need some luck. Normally that card is not super great. I'm just going to go with the Druid of the Swarm to protect the Fendrel. Puts out more health against like a Flamewaker turn. And at this point they're probably going to start playing Giants because they don't have much else to play. And the Poisonous is good against Giants. We're just so far ahead though. Our opponent's going to need like Apprentice plus Evocation to come back into this game at this point. Or just chain a bunch of draw spells and just draw tons of their deck. Like with Book of Specters and Arcane Intellect, or perhaps Luna. There's a Book of Specters. Discards the Ray of Frost. Just freezing our board. I don't know. Okay, they have another Mana Cyclone. But, alright, Mana Cyclone for 3. Not great, but not bad. Just gonna Malfurion. Malfurion with Steladris out is just so good. Getting both the Poisonous Spiders and the 1/5 taunts. Blizzard off the Mana Cyclone. That's pretty devastating. They're able to remove all of our poisonous minions. Definitely going to play the Rising Winds, I think. While we still have Steladris out. I mean, Malfurion. Dirty Rat, don't... Ooh. I don't know if that was great. I guess we have Mulch, so we can deal with the Giant that comes out. Yeah, this is okay. Alright, I like this. I like this. There was a possibility that they were going to go off with the quest on the next turn, and removing a giant lowers their damage output by a lot. Brood Mother. Okay. I think we're just going to Dirty Rat again, see if we can pull more giants out. Flamewaker, okay, that's actually probably be better than a giant pull, because that puts out so much damage. Definitely want to remove it. I think we're going to use Hero Power and the Living Roots while we have the Stelandris out. I mean, Malfurion. Not Malfurion. Oh gosh, I can't remember his name. Vendrel. Yes, Vendrel. Next turn we're probably just going to be playing Eagle out, just more stats. Next turn we're probably going to try to Zola a rat. Pull out more big minions. Opponent Questions Explorer into Scroll of Wonders, which happens to be a sprint, into another Scroll of Wonders, which Shadow Steps their Questing Explorer into another Scroll of Wonder, Zarek's Cloning Gallery, pulling out Luna's Pocket Galaxy and an Apprentice, and 2 more draw cards, the Star Scryers. This is insane. They just did the 2 mana, draw 5 cards, and Zarek's Cloning Gallery. That was ridiculous. Now they can just play Flamewaker and go off. I think they can complete the quest this turn, play the quest. They have a Luna out, they have a Flamewaker, they have an Apprentice, and these are just copies. No, or at least the Apprentice is just a copy from the Galaxy, the Cloning Gallery. They still have another Apprentice in their deck to draw into. Power Infusion. Okay, there's finally some good luck. It goes on our minion. But those Scrolls of Wonders were insane. Time Warp. Luckily, though, we have a huge board. We have tons of health. They don't have many giants left, so they probably won't be able to combo kill us. But they might. If they get another Apprentice down and just start playing tons of spells, they could just Flamewaker us down. Burning their spells. I don't know what the strategy in that is. Maybe just a misplay. Molten Reflection on the Flamewaker. Pretty good. Can they keep going? Luna is not a spell. Huh. Okay. They're clearing our board. They have a big board. They have a secret down. My guess is it's counterspell? That's what they want. Wow, okay. So that was kind of a crazy, unexpected turn. Testing for counterspell, no counterspell, so now we can just Zephrys to clear the board. We also drew Poison Seeds, but that just gives them too many 2/2s. Just gonna nice and cleanly clear the board with the Zephrys. Shadow Flame on our Eagle will do the trick. First, let's test for duplicate by trading in our 5/3 into their 0/2 taunt. No duplicate. Alright, let's just Shadow Flame, clear that board. Well, quest is gone. I think we're just going to play I consider playing Grizzled Wizard for the 3/2, but then I realized we give him our awesome hero power for a turn, which is almost the same as just not playing the 3/2, so I decided not to play it. Another Scroll of Wonders. This one's not as game-breaking, just a Mortal Coil on our 3/2. Does give them the easy clear, though, and Zola's a little sad in our hand. Now they just got to play Giants and hope for the best. I decided to save our Poison Seeds. They have more Giants. Just going to play Snip Snap. I decided to go wide in case they have Freeze Effects or Polymorph. But this might have been a misplay, because now our board is going to get really wide, making our Spreading Plague worse. Okay, there's their last apprentice in evocation. Okay, but we're sitting here at 42. They have no quest. Yep, there's a freeze, so going wide does pay off a little bit against the Ray of Frosts. Fireland's Portal's pretty good. They get a Summoning Stone. Jeez. That could give them so much value now. So, Summoning Stone, for those who don't know, it's the 5 mana 0/6. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a minion with the same converted mana cost. And that deck casts spells. We do have Poison Seeds to deal with this board, but it doesn't take off much power when we're giving them all those 2/2s. And it fills our board with 1/1s from all our Death Rattling Snip Snaps. So we don't get as the 2/2s, we get 1/1s. And I think it's just too bad to do that. So I think we're just going to go with Spreading Plague. We get 4 taunts, which is pretty good. I'm a little worried about Counterspell as a secret, but I don't think playing around that is very worthwhile here. No Counterspell. Just gonna hero power down that apprentice while we can. Oh, I was scared it was duplicate, but it's just effigy. Okay. So they have a summoning portal on the board. They have chances here. They certainly have chances. Once again, our opponent got super lucky off of those Scroll of Wonder. That Scroll of Wonder turn that just drew them 5 cards, summoned tons of good minions from their deck. Okay, we see Caligos. That's scary. It's a 4/12. Discover a spell. The first spell you cast each turn is free, or costs 0. Luckily, the 1/5s are going to survive just about anything they can discover, whether it be Blizzard or Flame Strike. I'm not really sure what our plan is here. If we ever Poison Seeds, we don't have the Spreading Plague to back it up. So somehow we just have to clear their board as much as possible without using Poison Seeds. It's actually looking kind of rough. We've already used up Zephyrus too. This game is not looking too great for us, but our opponent ropes out the turn. I'm thinking there's no way they're quitting. They have such a good chance here that what they're probably doing is pretending that they rage quitted, hoping that we'll just attack face, and they probably have a Flame Ward up. If we attack face, that clears off most of our board, and then they can do something from there. But I am thinking, no way am I going to play into that. I realize that we're actually not in a great spot here, so we're just going to play smart, try and clear off as much of this board as possible. We could try to just clear off all the small minions and then Poison Seeds. That is a possibility, though they still have giants in their hand, so that's a little rough. Loatheb is nice, but we don't have the board space. The only way we can get the board space is if we trade off the 1/5 into the giant. Okay, so I go for that. I think that's okay. Play the Loatheb, and I think just trade off as much as we can. Kill the Summoning Stone, get that out of here. And then just trade off against as many minions as possible. Armor. Would have liked to have seen an attack maybe into one of their minions. But the armor's okay too, in case they have like Flame Strike and they're just going to be going for lethal. And no, our opponent really didn't rage quit. I'm pretty surprised. They have a full grip. They're ahead on board. They could have... maybe they just had terrible cards in their hand. Anyways, good game.